Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 344 of the Saturn Studs Podcast. I'm Kurt, joined once again this week by my creepy and kooky co-hosts Peter and Jake.
That's right, Kurt. Yeah, the snapping. And as I stand before you, bedecked in the finest satins, we paid tribute this week to the worst map, the worst world map. It's been circulating around on the internet, and it's a solid 1 out of 10. It's a powerful statement about geography in our world today. There's a lot going on with this map. We've got Texas in Canada.
I should probably show this map.
See, Kurt can bring it up. We've got India underneath the Indian Ocean. Australia, correct. Surprisingly, New Zealand exists. That's the redeeming factor here. But Russia does not exist. Instead, we have Asia. Paris is in Finland. South America is just South America.
Yeah.
And New York is below Texas.
I zoom in here. There you go.
We also have, I think the piece de resistance is the Arctic Ocean. Not the Arctic Ocean, but we have here the Arctic Ocean.
Arctic. Hey. Oh, that's right, because you came in afterwards. You would have had the link. Oh, we really shouldn't have shown him. That was a mistake on your part, Peter.
He should. Ironic that he would have to go looking for the map.
You know what? That's not unfair.
Let's see what the worst world map is. What Google says the worst world map is.
I'm looking at the first result for worst world map, and it looks like we got all of North America and Greenland colored in as the American flag.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, I remember he tried that shit.
Try to buy it back from the Danish.
Could have Alaska and Greenland could have been the the fucking parentheses
around Canada. The Donald
tennis clappers, Donald Trump. 40 love handles, Donnie. And that's thankfully it's not where we are today. We are not.
Oh no, we're well past wherever we were supposed to be by this point.
We've gone to. Oh.
I mean, yeah, that is where I watched it.
They're not dying. They're totally still viable for a little while longer. They just start doing the pyramid scheme model. Just they're gonna get you like you can get a double subscription so you can watch double the movies at the same time. Uh,
I'm interested to
and
see how
then
they enforce that.
yeah, and then you can with that you can watch more than one trailer. But until that time, we've unlocked the secret. We've cracked the code. We can watch multiple trailers a week, and that's why we bring this service to you
We can.
in Trae Watch.
I sometimes question whether or not we should. I really don't know what to do with that.
I think we got to talk about you people.
Okay, well,
We got to start out there.
Robert Downey Jr. GIF. You People is a comedy featuring Jonah Hill and Eddie Murphy, and the teaser for this had Jonah Hill making a fool of himself in front of Eddie Murphy, who was playing the dad of the love interest.
Mm-hmm. Like, man, he ain't Steve Jobs. He's John Career. Like, that's what he's out here looking like.
What?
Oh, the little toe shoes. I
Oh,
I have
okay.
a pair of those somewhere in my house.
Yes, I
Mm-hmm.
know. I know of the existence of both these things. I did not know that they had a name apart from toe shoes.
I'll need to find mine.
No,
They'll walk out
I
on
don't
their
think you
own.
do.
Little ground twiddlers.
Clark Atlanta.
The old people pods.
So Jonah Hill and the director Kenya Barris wrote this movie. Um, I
I
don't know.
choose to believe that this whole movie takes place in this one location.
I would love that
It's just
actually.
a 1.5 hour like dialogue movie. It's really like high art. They just decided to go the full 9 yards with it. The full 10 yards. Mm-hmm.
It's got a pretty strong looking cast. Jonah Hill, Lauren London join Eddie Murphy, Nia Long, Julia Louis Dreyfus, and David Duchevre.
I really hoped you said Dave Batista.
We all hoped.
He just shows up in movies. Like, oh, it's Dave Batista. Mission Impossible 7. And there's Dave. He's not even on the billing. He just walked on set.
Huh?
He's Batista. You've heard of photo bombing. This is what Batista bombing is.
Yes, it has no other relation. All right, where do we go from here?
We can go any number of ways. There are infinity ways we can go.
Okay.
So we'll just go into the infinity pool. This is the the scary horror adaptation of the famous pool.
Yeah, this is a weird fucking name for this movie. I don't understand.
They not. I I was really hoping it was he's just stuck in an infinity pool, and that's the whole movie. He just keeps swimming. He's got to get out. But no, this is if A24 has a style, the Neon Pictures definitely also has a style, and this is that.
Yeah, it's fucking weird.
Mm-hmm. Yes. So he went to see Jordan Peterson's doctor. We'll get to that cloning treatment. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She was in X, I think, or the other one, Pearl. Well, I mean, they come from good stock. Skarsgård was a very robust, dilapidated boat.
I was gonna say they really grow well in the Scars Garden. Um, yeah, the premise of this is like, so remember that one episode of like Star Trek TNG where like everything they had like the perfect society because anything was like punishable by death. Like if you stepped in the garden, they were like, "We're gonna kill you now." That was like an early episode of TNG, and so this is that, except you can pay like $20,000 to make a clone that dies for you. I assume that's the industry of this little island. Tourism and a little suicide, catch your own death for a few extra bucks. That's a premium service.
Certainly
Um,
gleaned a lot more from that than I did.
yeah, that's it's a little bit in the description too, but
Oh, okay. I
um,
see.
yeah. I'll also say so. This is Mia Goth in another horror film because she was in Pearl.
Yeah,
So
I just said that.
she's starting to break. She's breaking in. She's breaking into the mainstream like this. She's debuting. She's debuting, and she's ready to just scare the pants off
If I had the
all
ambition
the
to,
little Americans at home.
if I had the ambition to do that edit, I would like have the instant replay of me saying that Mia Goth was in Pearl, and then 4 minutes later, Peter being like, "Yeah, this Mia Goth, she was in Pearl, I hear."
But guys, there's this movie that she was in. Uh, oh
That
wait,
was for me.
was
That
this
was almost
directed?
as good as Rick James on the Chappelle Show.
Oh, it was direct, and this was directed by Brandon Cronenberg.
Yes, it's
The-
Baby Cronenberg.
He's gonna get Cronenberged.
He's done a couple other things. I don't think they reviewed well.
Mm-hmm. Was it him who did Crimes of the Future?
I think that was David,
Okay,
right? I believe
Daddy
so.
Berg.
How many Cronenbergs could there realistically be?
Well,
He is David Cronenberg's son, yeah, and Caitlin Cronenberg's brother. I I don't know, but that
were
that
they were they just one person who just underwent mitosis a couple times? It wouldn't surprise me for Cronenberg.
oh, Possessor. That was the other movie that he did recently. Oh, I see. As another. Okay, well
That's just the black sheep of the family.
yeah, no Cronenberg. Not... Wait
I'm
till you
telling
find
you,
out that Nick Cage is
there was the
actually
one.
Francis Coppola's nephew.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it was one primordial Cronenberg. He had his genes spliced and he became unstable and
His
split.
essence diffused out of the Cronenbobble.
The Cronenbobble. It's
Yeah,
I mean, they say a lot of film is autobiographical.
that's true. You see a lot of the director in the movies they make. In some cases, literally, like Tarantino and Hitchcock.
Oh, just put them in anywhere. Where do we want to go? Do we want to talk about? Let's just talk about champions. Let's talk about champions.
Champions.
It's features that actor, the woodiest of Harrelsons.
Yeah.
It's the feel-good zombie movie of the year. See, I count on you for these ones, Jake.
Yeah,
and you always deliver. You really you bring it in from downtown. See, I don't have any clever jokes.
Yeah, this movie willingly walks an interesting line. Previously walked not very deftly by The Ringer.
And I think this is the first. Yes, this feels like the first American movie, or at least big mainstream American movie I've seen with Down syndrome actors. I know there was the infamous uh, Detective Downs in Sweden,
Um,
where the main actor was a detective with Down syndrome, and it was just creativity, 100 creativity on the naming there.
Apparently, this is based on a Spanish film. So
Okay.
We're not as progressive as the Spaniards. It would seem they've grown up a lot since their days of conquistadoring and inquisiting. A GCOM.
Oh, please don't tell me Shia decided he wanted to get into character for this. You know, I now we're it's one of those DSMs 1 through 5. It's in there. Now we're riffing on this shit, but I am honestly glad that they're getting who I assume are actors with these actual conditions rather than John Travolta in Fanatic,
Peter,
right?
we don't know that his
I
character had any disabilities. That is very harsh of you to assume that.
you
Moose,
know what?
he
Maybe
fed
maybe here's
himself.
Moosey.
He
I
clothed
maybe I was just
himself.
reading into him, Poppy yelling poppycock in the bathroom. Want to be an English Bobby. Poppycock.
It's a
Poppycock.
perfectly rational belief to, believe you can just break into your
Hey,
celebrity idol's house and
that
there be no consequences to it.
I yeah, you know what? That was pretty rude of me to intrude
He's
upon Fred
actually,
Durst's artistic vision.
and he's physically disabled now because he gets stabbed in the eye.
That's right, but he
So
gets to be he gets to
I,
be a pirate.
you doubly gotta feel bad on that one. You took 2 L's there. Dustin Hoffman was in Rain Man.
Jake, that was my level. That was
I know how you. I mean, it's so easy to confuse Robert De Niro and Dustin Hoffman. They're so similar. Yeah, I've, yeah. I think this is a one of the situations where, you know, yes, they're actors, and you can cast an actor who's not a thing to play a different thing, but it feels a little icky when someone who does not have Down syndrome plays
when
that
they
they have Down syndrome.
try it, yeah.
It feels a little mean spirited, just in principle, not the performance necessarily.
Mhm. Talking about our good boy Ezra, our special friend Ezra. He started as the Flash, and then his brain started going too fast. The Yeah, I would just replace Ye with one of these guys. Give one of these guys rap career. Got it. Sell out MSG. No problem.
No, sorry.
And once all the celebrities are gone, What what do we you made graduation.
I mean, the man needs help.
Yeah.
He's clearly
Cuz what
unwell.
happens when we lose everyone like him? It'll just be The Last of Us by HBO Max. Trailer number 1.
It
That was an awful segue, kids. It's just the game.
yeah. Yeah.
Give it just a little variety so people cuz like the game in itself is a pretty cohesive all the way through narrative experience. So might be an added value type thing.
Well, that's kind of what made the game story so great, is that it was about the relationship between those two characters. The story itself in Last of Us is about as bog standard as it can possibly be, but the relationship between Joel and Ellie was extremely well done, and that's what made it a memorable experience. The gameplay was every cover third person shooter you've ever played. Yeah, I mean it was Uncharted. It was 2013 when it came out, Jake. They had made 3 Uncharted games and like 5 Gears of War.
Why didn't they ever have they they had 5 Gears of War, but they never had Gears of War neutral or reverse or Gears of War parking brake. Parking brake of war.
Yeah, it's from the director of Chernobyl, or creator. Um, so it's got good pedigree behind it.
It's also covered in deadly radiation.
Yeah, I think it can be fine. I don't I don't get like Halo level oh no vibes.
Yeah.
Um,
Hmm. They had to go coast to
um,
coast.
I thought they were on the west, making their way east. Weren't they in
Oh, because I
California going up to Washington? No, I'm sorry, that's Zombieland. That's
I'm pretty sure it was. I think it was Boston, and the whole winter section is in like the the west, right? Yeah, and they go to Seattle at the end, right?
yeah,
I
they
think
were
it's
going to Seattle. That I knew they were heading to Washington. Um, but it's been a minute since I've played it.
Mhm. I see the little intro scene. Wait, was Ellie not played by Elliot Page?
No.
The motion. Okay. No. Maybe I was thinking of. Was I thinking of like Beyond Two Souls? Or some other
Elliot
David
Page
Cage
was
project?
in um God, fuck, what game was it? I want to say it was like Detroit Become Human or something
I
like
think it was
that.
Beyond Two Souls.
It'd be on Two Souls, yeah.
Where they
Came out the same year. Well, she herself complained about it. Um, back when, or he, what
mm-hmm.
you know what I meant. At the time the article was written. Yeah, I'm sure. Dude, I would have been canceled like 5 years ago.
the,
Anyone listened to this show. Yeah. So Beyond Two Souls came out the same year, and then there was the controversy about uh, stealing their likeness.
oh, okay.
I mean, they have a very generic looking face, you know. Easy to model.
You have a low poly face. got that nice what is it? 720p. Got that beautiful 720p look. Uh,
uh, just like
it's Elliot DeGeneres.
people
Thank you
are
very much.
dead in the pale blue eye.
That's right.
We have a full trailer for this now. The teaser was plenty long and contained plenty of the same scenes, so I don't know what the purpose of this is.
I
Uh,
get the plot of it now.
yeah, Christian Bale is a investigator, and he is investigating a
Some occult
string
stuff.
of bizarre murders among a group of cadets, and it turns out there's some occult shit going on, and he's gonna do some accent. Can't quite sure what exactly the voice is supposed to be, but it sure is what he's going with.
Yep.
Well, this is an Edgar Allan Poe
I
story,
really want him to
so
fight a big eye. I want like he gets a little far. He's got to stab it in
a
the big
beholder.
eye. Yeah. Oh, see, I want this just to turn to schlock, where it's like a platoon of West Coast, West Point cadets, all just like firing volleys at a beholder. Screw all this detective nonsense.
I
It's
like the
true.
gate.
We'd all be screwed, like immensely.
Yeah, I don't want anything from the D&D manual to be in real life.
Like kobolds, maybe.
Can't say as though I do.
No Tarask. Maybe a nice false Hydra. Although that could exist right now and no one would know.
That's true. Also, I haven't opened a
Okay,
lot
I
of
can go with the flump.
I haven't opened a lot of treasure chests, so I guess mimics are possibly out there.
What if like see that's the new twist is mimics like they went digital. So you open your loot box in Fortnite and it like eats your character.
Oh my god, that'd be so great. Dude, if fucking Fortnite ever does a cross with D&D, they should totally have one in every 16 loot boxes be a mimic.
And you lose
And you
items.
just see it eat your money. You just
Yeah.
epic. I expect my checks on the 1st and the 15th.
Yep. Otherwise, we're going to be the mean one. Collectively, we will be a mean one.
It's here
There's,
and it's what you expect, I guess.
I mean, it's not in like 1 degree off. So it's Newville,
Right.
and they're the new villains, the new villians,
The news.
the news. Um,
Yeah, it used to be like a once in a while thing, but now it seems like every year there's at least one.
yeah, and I mean, it is absolutely as cheesy, like you said, Kurt, as cheesy as you thought. Like I, I mean, people know that. Like I guess the schlocky bad Christmas movie is a it's an avenue now. It's a money making avenue. But
You might
when
find
when she
yourself
says the
on.
line, "Let's roast this beast,"
Yeah.
you know, my heart, like my ball shrank 3 sizes that day.
Sometimes they just hang the lampshade a little too much, and you're like, nope, I don't get the sense that you really tried your best here. And
Yeah,
that's when a bad movie is great. That's why I didn't like Velocipaster. They were trying to make a bad movie. Like the joy of the bad movie comes from the Schadenfreude of knowing that someone put their hard work, passion, and energy and tried their best and failed
had no
spectacularly.
idea what they were doing. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Either they inject adrenaline directly into the mean one's heart, so it
It
explodes,
grows.
or they kick it off the top of that mountain.
I think they load up a roast beef full of ivermectin and it just enlarges his heart.
Megacardia.
Yeah. I don't know if it's getting a theatrical release. Is it? You're right. If Terrifier,
Opens in theaters December 9th.
well,
Tomorrow,
I
kids.
suppose if Terrifier 2 can make 50 million in
It
theaters.
literally is it's uh Terrifier 2's David Howard Thornton plays the titular green meanie.
Mm.
It's just gliding the balls on the copyright
It
notice,
really makes you wonder, like,
just
why now?
because I
Like,
think
if they were gonna skirt copyright in this manner, what stopped them for so long?
they are 100% using this as a follow up to the Winnie the Pooh movie,
That
which
hasn't
that
come out
had,
yet.
yeah, that
Comes
had
out in
the,
February.
oh my god, why did they start advertising so early?
Because someone pushed out an article about it, and then everyone's like, "Well, this I gotta fucking see," and so they put out a trailer. You remember the trailer? There was like nothing in it. They're probably not even done filming by the time the
Yeah,
trailer came out.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I heard that as well. Well, I don't know for sure that it's coming out. It probably is coming out now because people I get the sense that the recent events may have afforded a great fundraising opportunity for some of the people involved with the movie, or at least given them confidence that they could recoup what they
Hmm.
would have out of it. But yeah, it will be Jason David Frank's last credited role ever. Yeah, this is the same. This is the same trailer that we watched months ago, years even at this point.
Hmm. It's an oldie.
Yeah, we've been watching out for that one for a while now.
At some point. Oh yeah, The Secret. Jake's using The Secret. Self-help books can apparently become movies now. Welcome to Year of Our Lord 2022 and the Uh,
subtle art of not giving a fuck. A
what a better title for this movie.
self-help book that I have read actually. It's all right as far as self-help books go. Um,
Hmm.
is being made into a movie. Never once while reading the book did I think, "Hey, this would work as a movie."
This has a good narrative to it.
uh, but they
But here we are.
got Mark Manson the offer to star in the movie. Um, there's a director.
It's certainly a thing.
It seems
And
to be qualifying as a movie on the most technical of levels.
ironically, it has a good trailer because I still don't know what goes on in it.
Yeah.
Hmm?
They did
Imagine
use
that.
Tub Thumping by Chumbawamba,
A lot.
which fits in fine with the '90s month we got going on here at the show. So points for that.
Riveting.
He
Sounds
sounds
like,
like a friend of the author.
yeah.
Yeah, that's that. And yeah, I think that's good.
I think that's trailers.
I think that's trailers. There are a couple other we could have talked about, but no.
Those were, in fact, trailers. Hmm.
Yep,
Yeah.
it's the follow up.
Our little cinematic spores
Yep,
that
let's take a
burst.
look at them, see how they run. In first place for the special Qatar World Cup post Thanksgiving weekend box office, covering the 2nd through the 4th of December, weekend 48. There are just 4 more weeks in this year. Actually,
They've got
3, because the week we just went through one of them basically. Oh my god.
Crazy how that works.
Yeah, Black Panther: Wakanda Forever remains in the top spot, but down a whole big chunk, 61 out of 61.5%. Down and out of 435 theaters, and Avatar is coming out next week, I think. So
Yep.
that's another thing that they're gonna have
Everyone's
to deal
evacuating the theaters so that it can just poop, just diarrhea its runtime all over the cinema.
with. I think it has the potential to be a flop. Just
Mm-hmm.
just yeah, I mean, well, it's if it doesn't make its money back, it's automatically a flop.
Yeah, and the budget is just so high on this thing.
And I think in the terms of a quality flop too. The first Avatar is barely memorable. It's the answer to a trivia question. What's the highest grossing movie of all time, not
Mm-hmm.
adjusted for inflation?
And it was, your first real 3D viewing experience. That's what it was for me. It was, the movie came out in 3D, and it wasn't the red, blue, anamorphic,
Stereoscopic.
stereoscopic. It's just big old fisheye lenses in front of your face.
Makes you wonder if maybe their agreement to do so is why they were able to see the movie early.
Yeah. Dude, Pride Rock.
Yeah, I really have a hard time believing it. But a programming note: this is '90s month, and just like we did last year, we will release a supplemental episode of the podcast that will be just the Avatar: Way of the Water review. We did this with No Way Home last year. Like I mentioned,
Mm-hmm.
it worked out well, and we're gonna do it again because double review episodes not a thing I'm interested in doing anymore.
Nope. And we are not going to stray from the 90s.
No.
You can be sure of that. You can be sure of that. Yeah, so we'll see if the Way of Water is downhill.
Yeah.
Because
Under the Water, the other
I got the
movie
kids.
about water, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever.
Black Panther, Water Forever.
It's made $737 million worldwide, which is like it's the domestic total of the first Black Panther.
Yeah. So not as impactful.
Yeah, there was an article out this week about a rumor that Marvel is reassessing their Phase 5 and 6 launch strategies after quality concerns surrounding
Getting
Phase
the
4
fucking results
projects.
in.
They brought Bob Iger back, man. He's the one with the vision to see what's going on here.
Yeah.
I leave for 2 minutes.
Like they really did do the equivalent of like call him in on a Saturday, because usually like I forget what it was, a weekend, right? Because usually they fire when someone steps down, they do it on a Friday so it doesn't fuck with the
Yeah,
stock
the
prices.
trading, yeah, they do it
Yeah.
after market closes on Friday usually.
But this one was not that. I think that maybe it wasn't on the weekend, but it was like earlier in the week.
It was, yeah, I read about it on Monday.
Yeah. So it was. It really was like they called him. They're like, "Hey, we need.
But
Can you
in
come
this
in?"
instance, I think that was done intentionally because they wanted to raise the stock price. They figured that that announcement would be something that would give investors confidence.
Mm-hmm. And he basically came in and said, right, that like y'all have been losing money under the table,
Yeah.
and y'all haven't been telling me about it. Where's where's my accounts? What have you done to them? Look at how they massacred my boy. Um, so yeah, I could see them reassessing all of this. Oh, we should talk about. Did we talk about Guardians Volume 3? Was that last week?
Yes.
Okay. I just, I, for some reason, I was thinking about the holiday special and how like that has the holiday special has like that one kernel of important stuff to the crossovers.
Yeah.
So definitely watch the holiday special for the next plot point. Maybe Olaf's his Frozen adventure is going to have the next Avengers in it. Um,
Might be.
they'll figure it out.
I I don't know if necessarily the format is what's holding back these shows.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Violent Night opened in second, making
Yep.
$13.45 million. But more importantly than any of that shit, finding itself in our spotlight. It's Violent Night, eh? It's got a 7.1 out of 10 on IMDb.
Which
72%.
is higher than Fat Man.
It is by a lot, actually. Fat Man got massacred. We all liked Fat Man, but apparently we were the only ones because Fat Man only has a 5.9 out of 10 on IMDb, 44% on Rotten Tomatoes, and a 64% on Just Watch, whatever that is. Um, Violent Night is 7.1 out of 10 on IMDb, 72% on Rotten Tomatoes, but only a 55 on Metacritic. So
Mm.
interesting
Spread.
spread there. 6.2 audience score. But we all know our thoughts and feelings on professional reviewers and how they can't be trusted because Bob
Mm-hmm.
Iger is sliding into their DMs right now saying, "Hey, why don't you say something really nice about Avatar 2 on Twitter and
And we'll let you ride.
we'll give you a 3 month of Disney Plus."
Nah. It's not even that. They give them one free quick pass or fast pass on the Pandora ride.
Can I touch him anywhere? Keep it above the waist.
Above the waist, below the ears.
Now, I think Hollywood controls them. I don't think they have any power in that relationship.
Mm-hmm. It's like how mitochondria are like incorporated within the cell. You know, reviewers are real reviewers, the powerhouse of the movie industry.
I want to I would love to do an experiment where you kind of like went around and and just asked random people on the street uh, whether or not they knew what the mitochondria was, and then
And see
whether or
how
not
many
they knew
repeat that.
what it does. Because I'm sure a lot of people will say it's the powerhouse of the cell, but a lot of people probably don't know that's responsible for breaking down
ATP.
ATP or
Yeah.
synthesizing ATP from glucose.
I don't think we did. I think that just got in. Ironically, it was viral, much like mitochondrial DNA. Like we really like they really just said like our bacteria 10 billion years ago was really just like, yeah, we took this community mod and it's part of our official tech stack now. We have this mitochondria thing. It's gonna generate a lot of power for us.
We think it's
So,
gonna be a good deal. Just like Hutchinser 631
oh,
493 635. Is that a phone number?
did they just dox themselves?
Kind of tempted to. I think it's one digit short from being a phone number.
Oh, okay. So it's 10 phone numbers then.
I suppose so. Um 10 out of 10 Violent Night. Absolutely loved it. So ridiculous that it was awesome. There are very few movies that can be utterly ridiculous and know it, but still be fantastic. This is one of those movies. I laughed at things I shouldn't have, and I wasn't even a little bit embarrassed about it. If there is a real Santa, there will be a Violent Night too next Christmas. Thoroughly enjoyed this. David Harbour is easily the best Santa ever. Mick Foley in shambles. Oddly enough, as overboard as this flick is, you will genuinely feel things happiness, sadness, love, and disdain. John Leguizamo was a great bad guy, and although some of the acting, the daughter's actor's boyfriend, was absolutely terrible, it fit perfectly. I'm definitely going to have to watch this again and just to see what I missed the first time round. This might be my new Christmas tradition movie. Two
Christmas
out of
tradition.
two found that helpful.
Nice. Burberry.
Burberry.
The official Burberry account.
Mm-hmm. Specifically part three. I love the specifically Rambo 3.
Specific. And the list of cinematic references runs long.
Sure did.
Um,
I thought it was a
much
collection of sins from other action movies. That's why I laughed. but it was scenes. That's decidedly less funny.
Unfortunate. What is more fortunate is we have a Christmas treat. We've got a Christmas
Oh,
celebration
is it
because
Ferguson 6?
it is Ferguson 6, my
Oh
friends.
boy.
He has come to bless us with
What
another.
greetings does he bring from the darkness?
Well, he's got a 7 out of 10 review. Um, Santa's got a brand new bag.
Baby.
Greetings again from the darkness. Ho ho ho! Who is ready for the best ever Santa slasher movie? Admittedly, it's a narrow subgenre, and anyone knows me or reads my reviews knows full well that this is not the type of movie I typically recommend. However, it's the season for charity, and director Tommy Wirkola, Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters 2013 sequel in the works, and co-writers Pat Casey and John Miller, the screenwriters behind the Sonic the Hedgehog films,
Huh.
have gifted us an extremely violent and often very funny Christmas present, replete with sledgehammer slinging Santa Claus. We first meet an inebriated Santa, I'm on a break, at a local pub, where he explains to a mall Santa why he has become so disenchanted with the job. Greedy, self centered kids who only want more video games. The booze numbs Santa's disgust as he heads off on his sleigh, and Vircola delivers the first shocking moment as Santa's barf keys us into the type of twisted tale we're about to experience. David Harbour, best known for Stranger Things and Hellboy 2019,
Best forgotten.
is absolutely all in for this far from glamorous portrait of jolly old Saint Nick. On his rounds, Santa raids household liquor stashes while chomping on cookies and eschewing skim milk. He's a full blown slob, yet still holds a soft spot for nice kids, while having little mercy for the naughty among us. Among us? Most of the story takes place at the Lightstone family compound, where one percenter Gertrude, Christmas Vacation alum Beverly D'Angelo, is the the foul-mouthed matriarch ruling over her entitled and unlikable family, consisting of daughter Alva, Edie Patterson, and her airhead actor husband Morgan, Cam Cam Gigandit, Gigandit, Gigandit. I'll put it in the chat.
All right.
Um,
Show Papa
uh,
what you got here.
and their poser teenage son, Bert Alexander Elliott. Also present for the festive evening are Gertrude's son, Jason, Alex Hassel, his estranged wife, Linda, Alexis Louder, and their precious 7-year-old daughter, Trudy, Leah Brady. Santa arrives at the Lightstone mansion not long before a team of mercenaries, led by Mr. Scrooge, John Leguizamo, storm the place and take the family members hostage. Their mission is to break into the family vault and abscond with $300 million in cash.
That's an interesting thematic through line.
What follows is a demented mashup of Die Hard 1989, Home Alone 1990, Bad Santa 2003, and Thor 2011. Deadly weapons used here include your expected firearms, but also a finely honed candy cane, an icicle, a skating shoe, and a Christmas tree star, among other holiday items. Most prominent is the sledgehammer wielded by Santa, and the flashback to his pre Santa days for an explanation. The violent action is plentiful, and it's well balanced with countless lines of comedy. Surprisingly, there is a story nestled in amongst the mayhem, and the heart of it revolves around the bond between Santa and young Trudy. She's a true believer in him, and that overrides his uncertainty about the job and inspires him to stick around for the fight. Santa can't explain the mystique of Christmas magic, but he does know an 1100-year-old marriage has its ups and downs. Obviously, this is not one for the kiddos. It's a hard R rating, and they should be shielded from this Yuletide yuck.
Whoa. I don't feel comfortable with you using a hard R.
Sawdays. Director Virkola has delivered an instant holiday classic for those seeking the bizarro world flicks contrasting to the more respectable family fare of It's a Wonderful Life and A Christmas Story. Who would have ever thought that Festivus might be the safer holiday. Opens in theaters on December 2nd, 2022. 42 out of 52 found it helpful, as they should.
Spoken like someone who's never done the feats of strength. Right. Nick Arthur. 58520 as a 10 out of 10 review. Simply titled Genius. Warning spoilers. Pure modern day evil Jafter money with no honor and extreme violence runs into Santa, an ex-hammer head-cracking Viking warrior before he became Santa. This is a vigilante wet dream. Lots of ludicrous parts. Tarantino-like violence and tender moments for a child. There was a deep moral message that no matter how tough you think you are, it takes courage to be a kid in this life. Oh, to be kind in this life. Santa's acting stole the show from me when he took his shirt off and was caked in Viking tattoos and the remnant of a warrior body could be seen through the flab. It kind of had a believability. Santa burnt out relationship with Mrs. Santa finished and drinking too much. This one last job like movie started slow but built into riotous melee of violence and comedic lines, and the way it threaded in the saccharine coated cliches of Santa and naughty list was clever. You guys ready for the most shocking part of this review?
Please.
8 out of 8 found that helpful.
100. Woo.
About 1,000, yeah. Jake.
Yeah. It's common sense. Just common type sense.
Just makes sense, man.
Finally, from Richard King Upper Hopton, we have this 4 out of 10 review. Truly awful. Reading the other reviews makes me wonder if I walked into a different film. This was funny for about 5 minutes and quickly went downhill when the scene moved to the main house. The script felt like it had been written by a 5-year-old. After about 30 minutes, my wife and I looked at each other and agreed we'd given it long enough. It's a long time since I walked out on a movie. Reading the other reviews makes me wonder if I walked into a different film. This was funny for about 5 minutes and quickly went downhill when the scene moved to the main house. The script felt like it had been written by a 5-year-old. After about 30 minutes, my wife and I looked at each other and agreed we'd given it long enough. It's a long time since I walked out on a movie. 11 out of 29. It was more, but they only, when you like the first half.
Right.
Not the second half.
And how was in the second half? All right. That's Violent Night. Strange Worlds falls from second to third, down 58.2%, bringing in a paltry $5 million over the weekend. It's only made $43 million worldwide. $43 million for a Walt Disney movie. Wow.
Strength.
Yeah, The Menu is up a spot, actually, despite being down 36.6%. $3.4 million for that. Devotion had a rough second week. It's been that long, hasn't it? Whatever. It made $2.7 million, down 53.8% from the previous week. All told, it's made $15 million worldwide. Oof, really? That few, huh? I was one of maybe 20,000 people who've seen this movie, I guess.
Ooh, the select few.
Yeah. I Heard the Bells opened in the 6th with $2.1 million. It's a Fathom event. Another movie about Jesus.
Jesus.
God. There's other
Wait,
holidays.
you're talking about I Heard the Bells, right? Or wait, which one were we on? Shit.
Oh, no, it's Henry Wadsworth Longfellow. I just clicked on it
Yeah,
and saw a cloaked figure
it's got to be Jesus.
and assumed it was Jesus. That's on me, folks.
He might have something to do with Christmas. I don't know.
He wrote a beloved Christmas carol.
Mm-hmm. And then we put the Muppets in it. Made it all the better.
Yeah. Black Adam is in 7th. It's made 384 worldwide. So far, $1.56 million. Yeah, disappointing theatrical run is wrapping up here for Black Adam. The Fablemans is down a spot here in 8th, $1.269 million. Bones and All down a spot as well, 1.188. And rounding out the top 10 is Ticket to Paradise in the 7th week with $854,000, down 54.1%. But fear not, folks. The quintessential quintuplets movie opened this week also, and disappointingly did not make $555,555, but did make $500,000. So there's at least 1 5 in the take.
With
The
about
per theater
910 theaters. Yeah,
is 5.5 though. So there's not quite 5.5s, but we're getting there.
but not enough to crack the top 10.
Teenage tutor Futaro Uzagi has to finally choose between the 5 the Kano sisters, who all have feelings for him, at the school's upcoming cultural festival, the event that will lead to his wedding to one of them in a flash photo. I hope they did it like Clue, where based on the region you're in, you get a different ending.
Yeah, it's a different quintuplet. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's just it's the ideal Japanese relationship. Friends, 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 friends. Married.
Well, you should marry your friend.
That's right. As soon as you tell them you love them, just right to it.
Yep. All right. That's the follow up. Let's talk quickly gaming news. I did finish Miles Morales, but given the time we're on, I'll review it next week maybe.
Mm-hmm.
We'll just get through some gaming news here. Cyberpunk 2077 is getting a Game of the Year edition. A couple years after it came out. Yeah, they sure have. Following the release of its Phantom Liberty expansion and another patch, troubled open world RPG Cyberpunk 2077 will be released in the Game of the Year edition. CD Projekt Red CEO Adam, I'm not going to try that last name, told investors during a recent call, as reported by Polish news site Stockwatch and spotted by Insider Gaming. Cyberpunk 2077 GOTY edition is scheduled for a 2023 release. Although some people might mock it, being like, "Oh yeah, who gave them Game of the Year?" They did win at least one Game of the Year award. Mine.
It's the only one that matters.
It's true. It's the only one you should ever pay attention to. Yeah, so that's coming out. Look out for that. The Game Awards were this past weekend. I don't remember who won anything. I think there's a fan voting war between Sonic Frontiers and Genshin Impact fandoms. Um,
Okay.
so what award is this for? Okay. Actually, I found the PC Gamer article. Awesome. Sonic Frontiers fans and Genshin Impact fans go to war over Game Awards vote. Update as of Tuesday, December 6th. Yesterday, it looked like Sonic Frontiers would easily win the 100% fan voted Players' Voice Award at this year's Game Awards. Its lead vanished overnight, however, and what seemed like a really nice story about an enthusiastic fan base has taken a turn as I write. Lifelong internet enemies are being made. The current Players' Voice Awards voting results are no longer available on the Game Awards site, but at last check, Genshin Impact had leapt into a tie with Sonic Frontiers. Less voting data. Well, let's see if that's still the case.
Sonic, like, they can't compete. They can't fight Mario anymore because just Sonic is a different fandom than it was in the 90s.
Well,
They need
Mario
something
and Sonic
comparable.
games took a rather large divergence.
It's true.
Player's voice. Let's see. View categories. View all candidates. View all categories. Game of the year. It was not nominated. This is an interesting slate of nominations. They have a Plague
Okay.
Tale Requiem. This is for Game of the Year, I guess.
Okay.
Plague Tale Requiem, Elden Ring, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West, Stray, and Xenoblade Chronicles 3. That's a very interesting
That is
slate of
interesting.
games. I don't think Stray belongs in Game of the Year conversations. Because the game's only 4 hours long.
Yeah. It's like there's just not that much content. When you put that up next to Elden Ring, which I have to imagine that gets it this year, just because.
God of War Ragnarok.
So that's a different Yep.
Well, some of these have been awarded. Christopher Judge already won Best Voice Performance for Kratos. Marvel Best Community Support. Wait, hold on. Did I see Overwatch in there? Best Community Support. No. Apex Legends, Destiny 2, Final Fantasy 14, Fortnite, and No Man's Sky. Well, No Man's Sky should win that on Runaway.
That's right. It's like 5 games at this point.
Yeah. Innovation and Accessibility. Why is that an award? That's an interesting award. Best VR/AR. Nominated as Among Us VR.
I mean, that was a big hit. Like, I think that was a comparable hit to when Among Us first came out or when it first caught fire.
Legends Arceus was nominated for Best Role Playing.
No.
Elden Ring is also a nominee for Best RPG. I don't. Multiverses won Best Fighter over King of Fighters 15. Oof. Oof. Oof.
Shaggy's celebrating.
Best Family. Just Best Family. Apparently Kirby in the Forgotten Land has the best family.
Got the best family.
Best
Kirby
Sim Strategy. Best sports / racing, best multiplayer, content creator of the year.
Oh, Marvel Snap has been snapping off.
Yeah,
You will.
obviously it's the
I've seen
mobile
it.
game of
I've
the
seen.
year.
Yeah, it's just like a card game. It's a mobile. It's a mobile card game. I don't know if it's like autoplay, but
I
I
think,
feel like I've heard it being talked about a lot,
yeah.
or a lot of word of mouth about it.
Stray won best debut indie over Vampire Survivors, which I've heard really good things about. I'd like to buy. Oh, they have a best adaptation category now. So video game movies and shows can have a shot at an award. Here are your
Okay.
legends: Arcane League of Legends, from Netflix, Cyberpunk Edge Runners, The Cuphead Show, Sonic the Hedgehog 2, and Uncharted. Well, Sonic the Hedgehog 2 should win this in a runaway,
Yeah.
even though.
Netflix. Yeah. I will note that like all of those except for Sonic the Hedgehog are Netflix series.
Uncharted wasn't a Netflix series.
Except for Uncharted. Okay. I imagine that Netflix sponsored that category.
Best esports game, Valorant won best esports game. That's an interesting choice.
Well, I don't know what the competition was there.
CS:GO, Dota 2, League of Legends, and Rocket League.
Okay. Yeah, in that case, if those were eligible, then yeah, that's a weird one to give it to Valorant. Because like,
So I didn't see the category that Genshin and Sonic were even nominated for. Um, but apparently that's a bitter
I'm gonna
rivalry.
guess best open world.
Yeah. Announced ahead of the Game Awards was Jedi Survivor. It's coming out, and the sequel to Fallen Order, which I will finish one day. Um, I'm not very far. I think it's better, more accurate to say I will concertedly start it one day. Jedi Fallen Order. Je- yes, it
Jedi.
has. Fallen Order has come out. Jedi Survivor was announced,
Yeah.
and there was a Steam page leak that was deleted, but showed some interesting information. Um, among some various pre-purchase bonuses that I don't care about. It said there was a planned release date for March 16th of next year. And it also, on the page, were some system specs. The minimum Padawan would require a Windows 10 operating system, a processor that was 4 cores and 8 threads.
That's my DJ name is Minimum Padawan.
They cite specifically the 7700, i7 7700, and the Ryzen 5 1400, which is a old chip and not very strong. So this will run on a lot of stuff. They want 8 gigs of RAM, 8 gigabytes of video RAM. They're recommending a pretty beefy GPU, especially for that processor requirement of a 1070 or a 580, RX 580. Not that those are super beefy, but compared to the CPU. 130 gigabytes of storage. And the recommended master is 4 core, 8 thread, 11600K or 5600X, 16 gigs of RAM, 8 gigabytes of VRAM on a 2070 or a 6700 XT. DirectX 12, 130 gigs. So doesn't look too bad in terms of spec requirements, and it's coming out fairly soon. So if you enjoyed Fallen Order, which I may end up, you might be looking forward to this. But that's Sifu nominated for Best Fighter, even though it's a brawler. Kung Fu Brawler Sifu is being turned into a live-action movie. um, with the help of John Wick director Derek Kolstad. As reported by Deadline, Soul Claps Beat 'em Up has been picked up by brand new media company Story Kitchen. This was co-founded by Sonic the Hedgehog producer Dimitri M. Johnson and former APA partner Mike Goldberg. Kolstad focused on world-building action and non-traditional intellectual properties. See-Through will be the studio's first project, so that should be interesting. Got some people with experience that could potentially make this a good movie. And lastly, Intel Arc graphics, beta graphics drivers for Intel Arc, integrating the instruction set from Valve's Proton database for DirectX translation into their drivers, has delivered 80% more performance in DirectX 9 games, which is huge because one of the big problems with Arc so far has been its performance in older DirectX games sucks because it has a translation layer that I guess was pretty inefficient. And by switching over or integrating technology from Proton, they've been able to increase DirectX 9 performance dramatically, at least.
Mm-hmm.
So they're getting better. It's hard. It's hard to recommend an Arc card right now, but if
They're doing everything they
if you can afford both the monetary aspect of it and like the willingness to be a beta tester, please consider buying an Arc graphics card. We need competition in the marketplace. 3 companies making GPUs would be really good.
Yep. And I so I feel like if they had a sit or a for them being up and coming, I feel like they would really benefit, or it'd be a really cool idea if they like offered an upgrade path for you. Like if you're signing on to, if you're an early adopter of our cards, right? The benefit that you'll get from us, like for you'll have the actual tech is like not going to be top of the line, cutting edge, um, but you will grow with you, or you can grow with us as
What
we develop.
I feel like they tried to make these cutting edge cards like compete with Nvidia on the high end, but they didn't quite make it there, so they priced them more as mid range cards.
Mm-hmm. And I mean that's a smart move, and that's a fine move. Not I don't maybe not kudos, but good. You didn't make a dumb maneuver on that one.
Yeah. But that's just my suspicion. I don't know that for sure. And who knows? Maybe they'll figure it out in the next architecture and have huge performance leaps and be able to compete with AMD and Nvidia. But yeah, they really only mention like with the discounts on 6000 series RDNA 2 cards in general. The value proposition for Arc isn't great because you can get a better performing AMD card for less money. But again, it's important that there be competition in the marketplace. So
Yeah.
if you're considering Arc, and I think Arc does have better ray tracing performance than AMD, especially in that price category, that might be important to you. But I don't have a transition. We're talking about the Addams family now.
Addams Family 91. This is 90s Winter Part 1. I so so when choosing this movie, I saw and I was looking up. Of course, there are 3 Addams Family movies in the 90s. I figured we would, for future purposes, I'll start with the first one, even though everyone remembers Addams Family Values as the popular one. But we start with the first revival there. This was part of the first wave of reboots, the 90s reboots.
Yeah. Dr. Doolittle. another example.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it I don't know if this was the first time I've seen this movie or just the first time in a really long time I've seen this movie.
Mm.
I couldn't I
It
couldn't tell.
definitely was the first time for me. I don't think I ever watched this movie as a kid. Um, Although I feel like the character, like those actors as those characters, um, stand. You know, they're kind of iconic. I would say, at least those portrayals, because like they stand out clear in my mind. Like obviously, Raul Julia is Gomez Addams.
Like I remember certain scenes or like situations characters were in. I'd see them and I'd be like, "Hey, I kind of vaguely remember that in the recesses of my mind."
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, circling back to what did I think of it? It's not great.
It's certainly not of the ways to adapt an old property or make the movie version of an old cultural thing. We've watched a lot of them at this point, and there are it's this is not the most creative way to do it, but it's also not the most cliche. I think its biggest downfall is that it's maybe too straightforward, right? It just plays what you expect, which
I think it's
not like a
well, they have amnesia. That's a pretty big. Yeah, there's yeah, it's got a pretty thin plot to be generous.
Mhm.
The actors are it's got some pretty big name actors in it, and they all seem to be having a really good time.
Yeah.
Um, I won't necessarily say that they all brought like their best performances to the table, but they all seem to be having a lot of fun, which rubs off to a certain extent on the audience. But um, it's really the Addams family in general, and I guess you could kind of make the same argument for the Munsters, but I will stick my head in the sand because I will not say anything bad about that television show. It's really a
Yeah.
one joke premise,
Mhm.
and an hour and 41 minutes is an awfully long time to hear the same joke over and over again.
Mhm. The mysterious, sultry lady of the manor, yeah. And, I haven't seen it's been a while since I've seen The Addams Family, so, like, obviously, I know that, like, that was the thing that everyone remarks on is, like, how loving the the relationship was, but watching the movie, holy shit, they take it to fucking 11. Like they're about to start doing it at any moment.
It's the 90s, man.
They were like, I'm pretty sure that like there's like the waltz scene. I I'm pretty sure at some point off screen I just went to swingers. They just started swinging. I don't know what that means, but good to know.
How do you know that, Jake? Okay, sure.
Well, it's like a
I'm just wondering what your connection in all this is.
Jake's been pineappled before.
Yeah.
Never you can never say this podcast wasn't educational.
You learn a lot.
Yeah.
Very little of
Um,
it useful, and even less things you want to know, but you'll learn them. Yeah, it was.
he's fake.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that was kind of like the weird thing. Is like, I mean, I guess they kind of had to do what they did to reconcile that, but it
Hmm.
felt like really unearned.
Yeah, although I will say, like, just trying to consider it in the context of the Adams family, I could definitely see that where they're just like talking about Uncle Fester. It's like, yeah, there was a period where he was George, and he said he wasn't Uncle Fester. He was just some guy, but after a little lightning to the head, I mean, everything got better.
Yeah.
That definitely seems like one of those Adams family jokes.
What, you never just found a baby and were like, yeah, that's good. I'll take this.
Is that really what I feel like? Did they just mention that in like a line at the end of the movie?
No, it was towards the beginning of the movie. They kind of mentioned that she just like found him.
Oh,
So
okay.
they do kind of set it up ever
I
so
t-
slightly.
I totally missed that, and I had just assumed that like Gordon was actually her son and just happened to look like Uncle Fester.
Yeah, I mean they bring that up as like the conceit from their perspective, like, oh yeah, your son looks a lot like the guy. We can probably con them.
Hmm.
But as it they did slip that line in there,
Okay, so then like the
which,
cover story wasn't really a, a big cover story as much as it was like partially the truth.
well, it's very
Um,
easy to miss the
yeah.
line anyway, and like, in the beginning, he doesn't have any memories of being Uncle Fester, so he is an imposter.
Mhm. That is, I will say that is one of my criticisms of the movie is like despite it being an hour and 40 minutes, it feels rushed or it feels like there are parts missing.
Well, I
Uh,
feel like there are parts tacked on, like when they lose
yes.
the house. That whole subplot that lasts all of like 10 minutes and really doesn't produce any interesting gags or like
Hmm.
memorable
The,
scenes.
the like the lemonade scene where it's like, oh,
Yeah.
he drank the lemonade. Although I do like that joke, even though that's another criticism is like, I mean, I guess it's because it's a kids movie, but I could see these jokes coming from a mile away.
Yeah.
Where the Girl Scouts like, is it made from real lemons? It's all natural, no preservatives. It's like, yeah, I'll trade you for the Girl Scout cookies. Are they made with real Girl Scouts?
Well, that's one
Yuck,
that's
yuck,
been
yuck, yuck, yuck.
reposted a lot.
Mm-hmm. Because it's an oldie but a goodie. But again, like a lot of these jokes, you can like, that's how a lot of the jokes in this movie go,
Yeah.
where it's like the very simple like setup of usually it's like setup of bad thing, and then the Morticia or
Yeah, it's all
Gomez will be
just
like,
reversing the
"Oh, that's so
premise.
nice," or "It's
Yeah.
actually this and that." Um, that's a like a good eighty
Yeah.
percent,
Like
90% of
an
the jokes in this
example
movie.
is um the lawyer's wife is putting the son in like, oh, I could just eat you up, and the Morticia's like, no, too young.
Too
Like
young.
that's all the humor is in this movie. Yeah, because it really is just a one joke premise, and it kind of, it wears thin after a while. Um, Yeah,
Mhm.
it's not. I could see a kid liking this movie. I could see a kid being really into this movie,
Mhm.
and
I could see teens. I could see some teens who see this and like immediately wanna. This is this is where I see a lot of goth kids getting inspiration. They see this and they're like, this is relationship goals. This is aesthetic goals. I want to look like Morticia.
yeah, my girlfriend, I guess, used to. She told me I was watching the movie that people in high school used to call her Morticia Addams, and her ramble after that was like that was an insult. I would kill to be that beautiful.
Which is, I again, ironically, a very fucking Addams family thing to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then you watch Nightmare on Elm Street.
So back.
Or you either go Nightmare on Elm Street if you're about actually being scared, or you go Nightmare Before Christmas if you're about the aesthetic. Right?
um.
Those are that's the split evolution, right? You have your base form goth, and then you give them a Nightmare Before Christmas stone or a Nightmare on Elm Street stone. Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, you get more special attack on the Disney path, but the move set on the horror movie path is a lot more favorable.
There's a lot more. Yeah. The a lot of the stronger attacks are on the physical side. It's just generally better. Um. Yeah,
Go
like
ahead.
well, back in the '90s. Well, I remember what I was going to say. Back in the '90s, this was a thing that happened regularly. You would have a summer movie, a blockbuster, if you will, that was for the family. Um,
Hmm.
you had this.
And
You
I
had
mean,
like
recently it's Minions, but
shit like Rocky and Bullwinkle, and
Woody Woodpecker.
yeah, just like mountains and mountains of shitty adaptations of like mom and dad would remember this from their childhood. It's the same thing
Hmm.
that's happening kind of now for stuff like us at our age because we're the mom and dad now, or that age at
Right.
least. And it's like, oh, this is thing you'll remember from your childhood that you'll want to bring your kids to. We just have to move that timetable back 30
Hmm.
years. So now you had a lot of shit from
Thankfully,
the
though.
60s being remade into family
Oh
movies.
shit, we should have. Which reminds me, I can't believe we haven't talked about this yet. Quick aside, that '90s show is coming out on Netflix.
Yeah,
We'll see. We'll see what
it's
happens.
not what I would want from that though, because it's just a direct sequel to that '70s show. It doesn't really play much into the '90s aspect, or at least the trailer didn't show much of that.
Hmm.
It was, all the scenes you remember from that '70s show. The basement. Remember the basement? Remember Kitty? Remember Red? Um,
Remember when showing? Remember when talking about marijuana on TV was a taboo thing,
yeah.
frowned upon? Like that in itself is nostalgic, or like is out of date. Is like they couldn't even mention it. You had to just imply it. And for me, I'm just like, oh no, oh no.
Yeah.
That's like a bun in the oven type of like censorship.
But
Um,
it's kind of funny though, right? Because they tried that '80s show, and they took a different approach to that, where they tried to
mhm,
make its own kind of like setting,
right.
and it didn't work. So maybe this is why they're like going, oh, sequel territory. Sure, that works fine. But yeah, like
And plus, you get to
it's
have Kurtwood Smith back on and
yeah, and it's kind of
um,
like the
Mary Jo
same.
Pell.
I forget her name, yeah, but it is it's kind of the same like time juxtaposition that we were just talking about, where in when that '70s show was popular, the '70s were X number of years ago, and
Mm-hmm.
now the '90s are that. Well, no, the '70s. That '70s show was like early 2000s, so '70s were a little further in the rearview mirror than the '90s.
Right.
Or wait, shit, no, they weren't. Fuck, I'm old. He was. It didn't last very long.
They really tried and just didn't work. Um, this is all to say that this is I mean, this was that kind of wave of nostalgia shows, and that was the main banking factor. Even though, like, it's weird to say, but it's not as subtle with its references as reboots are today, which is saying something because reboots today are not subtle with their references. Um, that it kind of helps that like there are they just didn't do any of the deep cuts. Like their references were just put every main character that people remember main time on screen. Let them do their thing. Um, I will say that this is one of the uh, every appearance of Raul Julia is a little gem to be savored. It's a beautiful little morsel
Yep.
because he's always he always took it to 11.
And
Um,
I was reading some trivia about the movie and about him, and he cited Gomez Addams as his favorite role, and especially later in his life near his death, he always appreciated, um, you know, all the kids that would write to him, I guess, because that's what you did back then, about how much
Van
they liked
Gale.
him. Yeah, it's kind
Hmm.
of crazy, right? She was like in all of these fucking movies in the '90s. She was in Casper. She was in the Addams Family.
Hmm.
Um,
It was the time for it was
and
the spoopy time.
she's got some role on Wednesday.
Yeah. Which I guess that's a good segue. Jake, tell us how Wednesday is going.
Everyone was going gaga over it. Is it that good?
Yeah, and they were literally calling each other. She literally calls him Mikado.
Luis Guzman.
Right. I'm assuming they're kind of a side thing. Mhm.
Yeah, it doesn't seem very Wednesday to me.
She's true neutral out there. I'm. Mhm. That seems to be an important part of any of this media is like you can't hang the lampshade. Like you can't acknowledge at any point. They just have to be kooky. And you can't right. I don't, because in this, at least in the movie we watched this week, right? No one ever goes like, no one really goes like, y'all are weird. This is weird. You're freaks. Like kind of like a little bit.
Yeah. I think the first couple nights when he was still imposter fester, uh, Christopher Lloyd had a few lines to that effect.
Right.
Yeah. Well,
Right.
they would
That's
all
literally
take
Pugsley's only role in this show
they would take
or in the movie.
turns tormenting each other.
Mhm. Which when we, which also reminds me when you were talking about her doing like a detective shtick in this movie, I just immediately thought of Enola Holmes and how that's the show. The oh fuck. Who you just reminded me. What was that series of books for
Harriet the
young.
Spy,
No, I was, you know what I'm talking about. The series of like
Nancy Drew.
Nancy Drew. Remember the Nancy Drew movie?
I
I
think
don't
that's
know.
Harriet
All
the
I can
Spy.
remember is, for some reason, I
I'm
just
pretty
remember
sure.
I just think of That's So Raven, which what, can't wait till 2027 to maybe 2032 when they make the That's So Raven reboot movie. I never saw the show, but it'll happen. Yeah,
Um,
Nancy Drew and the hidden staircase. Oof.
right. Well, circling back to the movie we're reviewing, um,
Yeah.
the plot is kind of lacking. The I think like the big like there isn't a clear antagonist.
I mean, there kind of is in that the like, yes, they're the I get what you're saying, that the antagonist, there is an antagonist, but they don't do a lot until
Yeah,
like the very end.
and things just kind of happen largely. There's not a whole lot of through line. If I if I could rewrite this movie, I would maybe focus it on something else, or if you're gonna do the thing with their treasure, maybe try to make it formatted more like a heist movie. But yeah,
Mhm.
it was kind of rough to sit through because it was just a bunch of things happening and a lot of kind of like repetition in the humor, and it's also kind of hard to feel bad for the or feel like the judge who uh conspires to kick them out of their house is in the wrong, because the Addams family's kind of a dick to him.
Mhm.
Yeah. And even so, he never offered to pay for the window. He's got all those fucking Spanish doubloons.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so the movie doesn't. Yeah, the plot's a little threadbare because most of the things that happen are just the Addams family joke
Yeah.
happening at multiple times.
It's a lot of sight gags.
Not a lot of a lot of sight gags. Which I should say the production value of this movie is fine. It's good.
It's okay.
Except for the end.
The
I'm gonna get to the end
the end is bad, but also what's the hand called thing?
thing. Yeah.
That was pretty rough. Like Army of Darkness with a far more modest budget pulled off better blue screening.
Yeah. Um,
Came out the same year as well.
yeah. This was definitely a case of like he's the one character we have to do a special effect for, and for some reason they figured we shouldn't invest a lot into that, even though he's a pretty pivotal character.
Yeah, I feel they did a good job of like not having him in the movie too much, so you didn't have to deal with it as much, but like
Mm-hmm.
it was pretty bad.
Yeah, there was again like those. Yes, that was the end of which I wanted to get to for two reasons. Yeah, for two. One, the CGI was particularly bad there. Um, which I think that's the same budgetary problems as the stuff with the thing. Also, it really does cement it as a true 90s movie in that there has to be at least one scene where there is just papers and shit blowing around the set. That is it's my hallmark of a 90s movie is like how much random garbage did they put on the set and
Yeah.
have rolling around. Special effects people in the 90s loved. They loved their set garbage.
Well,
When you don't have
mock it all you
CGI
want.
everything.
Mock it all you
Yeah.
want, but set dressing adds a lot to a movie. It makes it
Mm-hmm.
feel like a real place. I think movies today could stand to have a little more set dressing.
For
Um,
sure. I mean, it was a really easy move to just add some texture to your scene when you couldn't just CGI in the whole background.
yeah, now fuck, we shoot out in front of a green screen 90% of the movie. Yeah, so it's like I was saying, I could see where a kid would enjoy this movie and a parent could sit through it. I don't really know that I would recommend another adult with no like nostalgic connection to this movie sit down and watch it, cuz like
The rewatch value on this one is not high.
it's just a very meh. It's a lot like interestingly enough, it is kind of like the animated Addams Family that came out a couple years ago, where they just got a bunch of recognizable name actors and put them in their family movie to try to get people to
Mm-hmm.
out to the theater, and they didn't have a lot of substance behind it.
Right. And the main difference was this is what a 90s style generic family movie adaptation looks like versus what a generic 2020 movie adaptation looks like.
Yeah.
So it's actually that might actually be an interesting study for any for all you film buffs who want to fucking look at it, um, to compare those two as like serving the same function in the culture, but in different eras and
Yeah.
how they achieve the same thing differently.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So that's the Addams Family. It's decidedly mid.
Yep. Yeah. If you didn't watch it, I probably wouldn't recommend you watch it. Just because there's better things to do with an hour and a half.
Yeah. Yeah. It's certainly, I think Addams Family is a little more culturally relevant because of this and Addams Family Values being movies where they invested heavily in the cast.
Mm.
Um, Munsters had movies that were, on par quality wise, but they used the actors from the show. Not, Christopher Lloyd coming off of wrapping up the Back to the Future trilogy and Raul Julia always being great, and the lady who played Morticia probably being in something.
Is that Jessica Houston?
Yes. She's in a bunch of Wes Anderson movies.
Hmm.
Royal
Now,
Tannenbaums.
now, if Wes Anderson directed an Addams Family movie, I would.
You know what? Actually, I would watch that.
Right?
Because it would work well, I think, because there'd be a kooky element to the movie because Wes Anderson,
he's a kooky guy.
He's got a kooky, uh, cinematographic style.
Je ne sais quoi, je ne sais kooky.
Well, I can tell you exactly what it is. It's planimetric composition in 90% of his shots.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the Addams Family, and completely shifting gears from this PG rated family movie to a very, very much R rated movie. Next week we will be watching The Rock, starring Nicolas Cage and Sean Connery. It's the one Michael Bay movie that I will voluntarily watch.
It is the masterpiece.
Broken clock, right twice a day. Blind squirrel situation probably a little more applicable here, but yeah, Rock 1996. I don't know that that's as widely available on like streaming services. I happen to own it, so that's how we'll be watching it. But yeah, come back next week for that. Until then, that's going to be a wrap on episode 344, the first episode of 90s winter here on the Saturn Studs Podcast. So, especially this month, be well, stay safe, and party like it's 1995.
Peace.